It's only the Allianz Leagues. It's only February. Only a warm-up. Only a relegation. Only a bit of fun. It's only a debut. Only hundreds of competitive matches and thousands of players giving it their all. Only an unstoppable passion for GA across the whole nation. It's only 30 years of Allianz supporting the leagues, and we're not done yet. Only the leagues. Only the Allianz Leagues.
A grain of rice is going to tip the scale. Just remember that, lad. There's a small bit of a needle there.
Come on, Maher, you've got to get Andy Moran into the game.
Our mission was to show that we're no longer the whipping boys of Munster.
Hello, people everywhere. Good morning to you. You're welcome back to the Irish Examiner hurling show in association with Allianz, who are great sponsors of the league and sponsors of our show as well today. We've a large intro, as you see there, but we're still holding on to there's a fair bit of needle there, because yesterday there was a fair bit of needle. Now, delighted to welcome O'Loughlin Gales legend centre-back Brian Hogan. Hoagie, how are you?
Good, Dalo. Good to see you again.
Good. Happy New Year. Good to have you. I know me and you watched nearly all the hurling that was available, Hoagie, over the weekend. The other two fellas on the show today, Mr. TJ Ryan, Mr. Mark Landers, I'm not so sure we can say that, because I know one was at Leopardstown Racing Festival on Saturday and one was there on Sunday. So hopefully you were at home on time to watch two goalies as the panel on the Sunday game last night. Mr. Dalo Cusack, Mr. David Fitz, with both their former teams involved. On the show, it's just we didn't get a defender and a goalie, a forward and a goalie. We got two goalies, but anyway, Rory O'Neill, that's your call out there. Well, it was good viewing. I enjoyed it. I came down for a quiet little pint here to Murty's, and there was a nice crowd out in the bar. And I said, "Is the TV on out in the lounge there, Pierce?" I said, "So turn it on there." I said, "Like, come out and watch it because there's someone talking to you." So good viewing, interesting takes on things. Opening round league. Finals of the All-Ireland Intermediate, All-Ireland Junior, OYO tenor TJ, and St. Joseph's Tulla winning the Harty Cup. Incredible story. So, how was the racing, gents?
Wonderful. You're already after starting on the yellow card now, because I didn't go to the racing on Saturday, but I did have a view of it. I was actually in the Aviva Stadium watching my country hammering the life out of Wales.
Larry, can we get him off the show immediately? Larry, will you remove Mark Landers, please? Calling Larry Ryan, would you remove Mr. Mark? There's no egg chasing allowed in this show, so if you were there,
and
that's okay.
Very disappointed that the rugby wasn't on around 7 o'clock, that we could have made Leopardstown during the day and then went from Leopardstown straight on to the rugby. It would have made a massive Saturday now, to be fair. But I had a keen eye on Saturday, all right, because we had a couple of horses running. As you know, Dalo, we had the PJB happened to win for us on Saturday in England, and also Goshen. So I have the full sister to Goshen, a horse by the name of Harrisburg. She's in foal to Dr. Dino. She's falling on the 21st of February. And I have a PJB. Then I have the dam of that. Play the Charmel is her name. She's in foal to Humac the Hooli. I know Hogan now, that'll drive you nuts altogether now, but like, you see, you fellas go over in Kilkenny, there's no way you'd spend a few quid on horses, like, is there? Is there any way we can squeeze a few quid out of you fellas?
Right, hold on now.
Charlie Carter's doing all right at the moment.
Yes, Charlie Carter leading in a winner there lately there. He's all teammate.
Don't be deflecting now, Landers, right? Don't be deflecting.
Yeah, and you could have been leading in a winner too, only if you pulled the stroke, sure.
Oh, the toothpicker! Oh my God! Do you see some certainty the next day?
He will, yeah, 5-4.
I know. The 25. Some horse took the 25-1.
Well, there's someone telling you lies there, Marco.
I'll tell you now, Dalo, for one and for one show only, right? I'm going to syndicate the horse, the toothpicker, 10 shares. I'm going to hang on to 4 of myself. 6,000 a share, all in. Anybody available and wants to have a leg in the toothpicker, it'll only cost them 10 grand. Oh, sorry, 6 grand. Any fellas want to split it 3 grand each, no problem. We'll take them on there, because this racing club is after hitting an impasse, like, you know. So any fella wants a bit of action now and wants an ownership of a horse, 6,000 for a 10th share of the toothpicker, and you'll have your money back the next day, and maybe a few more good days down the road.
You were meant to organise the racing club now, the two you're the racing men. Like, I'm only, by the way, I keep an eye on it. Yeah. So if it's after hitting the wall, don't be looking at me, listeners. There now, it's the two of them were organising that. And
I met some people yesterday, Marco, asking about it as well. Met a couple of lads from Ballyhale even coming out there. Some good supporters of Ballyhale are going to the club final next week. They were saying they were willing to join us. But yeah, Marco, and they were giving out that you weren't on the show last week because you gave them no information for Leopardstown. You know, so they were missing you. So they asked me to pass it on. So, but good day's racing yesterday. Leopardstown's a great spot, great race course, atmosphere, brilliant. Great Limerick day yesterday. JP's horse ended trend. Claire jockey influence as well, winning one of the big handicaps yesterday. Davy Russell winning a couple yesterday as well, which was great. But good day out, and the ground came right, and everybody was happy. But nice crowd. The buzz was back for sure. Like, so, yeah. So we choose
Rachel Blackmore.
Rachel had a brilliant win on Honeysuckle as well. So we choose horse racing yesterday, but this Saturday night I will be back on the Limerick bandwagon to face Galway. Yeah,
you're nearly needed back after yesterday, TJ, because like you got, I think, 4 scores from play, was it? Down in Wexford Park, and you scored 11 points.
Yeah, that's unusual.
Is it crisis time, TJ?
Well, it's amazing and what a weekend of sport can do, because I think last week one of the questions you were asking me was, could we win the league with our second team, right? And yet we roll on 7 days, Hoagie, and now there's a bit of a crisis, and so we're welcome to Galway, and all of a sudden we're under pressure. So I guess that is the beauty of sport and how changeable it is. And look at the Dubs in the football, how it's changed for them, and look at Cork flying at the weekend. So we've plenty to talk about. But it's amazing what a weekend can do, isn't it?
That's it. Did you go to Nolan Park, Hoagie?
I did, yeah. I was there.
Not overly impressive. Very average, quote unquote, according to your manager.
Yeah, you couldn't disagree with that. First half was a dour affair. It was obvious, and I suppose, look, like a lot of teams, but particularly obvious from any perspective, they haven't done a huge amount of hurling. Their touch was poor. There was use of the ball, like all teams trying to run the ball through the lines, and when you don't have your touch up to scratch and it breaks down, you can hear the moan going through the crowd, and we start to see a few patterns in the second half, but yeah, like it room for improvement. Now, look, saying that, maybe if we had a pitch like what they had in Páirc Uí Chaoimh, if we had the money behind us that the Cork boys have, it might have been a bit more conducive to a good game, but I've rarely seen
Nolan Park you're talking about now.
I've rarely seen Nolan Park look as poor. I was asking a few lads, were the lads training on it? It looked like they were training on it. The pitch was holding water, but then you look at was it the night before, the carpet that is Páirc Uí Chaoimh, but you look, maybe they might send a few quid up our way and we can do a job on
it. The money was only resting in the account, Brian. We just didn't realise it.
Brian, if you want money off Páirc Uí Chaoimh, you have to contact Crow Park, because they own them now. Like, they're like Páirc Uí Chaoimh and the Cork County Board are like the little bitches of Crow Park. Let's face it. So that's why they can't play the home games in the Munster Championship. They can't even play them in their own field, because the ginger head Ed Sheeran is coming in. No, that's how confident they are of whipping Clare again. Like, they would say, we play Clare and Turles. No worries there.
Oh, stop that now, Dalo. You're at that evidence now already.
On the evidence of what I saw Saturday night, my first match back in the flesh at there was just the difference in class between Cork and Clare. It's just anyway, we'll get to that. Mossy Keown 2-2, was he the bright spark, Huggy? Or the all cat?
Yeah. No. Look. The endeavour was there. You know, Mossy was holding the line. He was the edge of the square. Just, yeah. Look, there was there was a couple of debutants there, that did okay with the young lad wing forward there from Connacht Shamrocks, who actually was probably the most impressive for a guy in his debut. Kenny, I think it was. But outside of that, yeah, I mean, like, it was going through the motions, really, to a certain extent. They got into a bit of a flow in the second half. They pulled maybe 6-7 points ahead, and then they kind of switched off. They allowed Antrim back into it, and then they went ahead again. And then overdoing it there at the back with about 10 minutes to go, Paddy was playing the ball out, played it back into the middle. It wasn't on. It was intercepted. They got a goal, and it was kind of hanging on from there. Couple of spells of decent hurling, but I mean, look, like all the matches, you're not going to be reading a whole lot into the first round of the National League. You just don't know where teams are in terms of their physical. Like, I've no doubt the boys have been prioritising the physical training. That's generally the way it is. They've done very little hurling. But there wasn't a huge amount of positives you could take out, apart from the fact we got a result at home, which, in the National League, it's important to win your home matches at least. And, because we're heading to Thurles now next week, that's going to be as is always the case, a tough test. Yeah. But you wouldn't be pulling a huge amount of positives out of the game, to be honest.
And Padraic Walsh to the forwards, or Brian, is that going to be fixture?
They're obviously looking at a few things there. Moving Padraic into the forwards. They've moved Paddy Deegan to midfield. So they're obviously identified that they want to try and see can they strengthen or bolster up or give a few more options in the forward line. Like, look, Padraic is Padraic. I wouldn't really be too concerned. Padraic had a quiet day, but like when it comes down to it, you know what you're going to get from Padraic. It's a top class performer. He's been so consistent. It's kind of outside of the likes of Padraic, and like if Padraic had been leading the line there yesterday, what would we have learned? Not much. We know Padraic is going to deliver. It's kind of outside of him. It's the kind of the other guys who are trying to stake a claim, and I wouldn't say there's too many of them put their hand up. We had to bring Walter on at half time, and he added a bit of physicality there. Now, look, Antrim weren't sparing it. There was a couple of tasty tackles there. There was a pull there in the first half, and I think it was Carson got a yellow card. It was, there was one or two challenges going in, and the pitch helped that. It slowed the game. Like, we played a very slow pedestrian pace to the game in the first half, and that helped Antrim stay in the game. And Antrim, it definitely looked like Antrim had done a lot more hurling. Their touch was just that bit crisper. In the second half, we upped the pace, and we looked a little bit better at times then, but then the pace dropped and Antrim pulled us back into a bit of a dogfight. So, you'd imagine as the matches go on and the touch gets a bit better, the pace will increase from a Kenny perspective. But yeah, as I said, outside of maybe one or two lads, Hugh played very well actually, centre back, and that's an option. That kind of that middle spine of the team. You'll want to get that kind of nailed down early on and kind of start building the team around it. But really it's the forwards. And look, obviously you're missing the Ballyhale contingent. They're going to have a big input when three of them come back anyway. But yeah, first game, there's not too much to be taken out of it,
Yeah, and you'll know more, Huggy. I mean, they weren't overly impressive beating Laois either. I'd say it sounds very similar to games. And Laois 14 men for a lot of the game. Paddy Purcell. I mean, there's been a lot of fantasy teams seeing a red card. So, and they still didn't, drag away from them and beat them 9 or 10. It was only 4 points. And so I expect then that will bring out the best in both Tipping and Kilkenny for next weekend. That's one to look forward to.
100%, yeah.
And on that, one of my regrets of last year, not a regret, I have no connection to anyone up there, but that Antrim went back down to Joe McDonough because I thought they were making real progress in the league. Obviously, beat Clare up there. I think they drew at Wexford. So they beat Wexford, the lads. My recall is they definitely got a result against Wexford, and they definitely beat Clare. I remember that.
Yeah.
But I thought they were making nice progress and trying to do things right, and maybe going back down to Joe McDonough, having another year in Division 1 of the league, and I'd say they're the strongest team in the Joe McDonough. If they come back up again, they'll be more set for the Leinster Championship next time.
Yeah. Look, I suppose I've been focused more on Kilkenny performance there, but that's not to take away. Like Antrim, were extremely competitive. They had a really nice style. They had two small inside forwards, so were delivering really good ball in, and they used Neil McManus really well. They started Neil full forward, and obviously we know Neil and the quality hurler he is, and obviously he's a huge physical presence. But they brought him back out to midfield, and you could see them telling him to switch and go back in for a breather and come back out. And when he came back out, he's a talisman for them. He's a really physically strong, posing guy around that middle of the part of the field. And his use of the ball was excellent, you know. So when he was getting on the ball, you know, he was having a big influence. And then, you know, look, at his stage in the career, he's not going to be able to put in a 70-minute shift out there. So they were bringing him back into the edge of the square then, and he was making a nuisance of himself in there. And they were lively. They got some fantastic scores, you know. I mean, they can throw some dreadful whites, you know, in the first half. If you look down to the town end, if you like, I don't know how many balls went to the left of the post as you're looking at it. And that was the frustrating thing, is that probably 5-6 shots, one after another, that went to the same place, 10-15 yards left of the post. And look, that can come with sharpness, but you know, it was poor shooting. But Antrim seemed to be much more efficient, particularly in the first half. They got some lovely scores and got out of the gates quick, you know, or out of the traps quick. And I felt they definitely have quite a bit of hurling done, you know, and they came down with an intent, and throughout the field they're well able to hurl. I can't think of the guy's name. The full back was excellent for him, you know. He's I had the program there, but he was a strong physical guy, plenty of hurling, came up the field in the second half, driving through once or twice with the ball. So yeah, look, I agree with you, for them to progress, you know, and a little bit like, I suppose they're ahead of Offaly, you know, and we'll probably come on to that, you know, with Venno, what he's trying to do. But, you know, they need these kind of games consistently, you know, they want those games, you know. We've spoken before, they are hurling mad up there, you know, but they need the help, you know. They're isolated, they need that support. And, you know, even like, February 6th, and it was Baltic, you know, the wind coming down, there was sleet coming in at times, and yet there's still a crowd came down from Antrim. It wasn't a huge crowd, but you know yourselves, they'll travel, you know. And there was a bus load and parked up in the club there in Loughlin's next door, and they were down, young lads, they were obviously down playing a match against one of the clubs, you know. And that's fantastic, you know. But they need that. But look, they were right in it up to the very end. They could have very easily could have nicked it. They had a free there. I heard someone in the stand going, "Oh, be like TJ." I think it was actually Neil McManus stood over it. Now, it was too far out. I mean, it would have been criminal if that had gone in, but he went for it. He put top spin on it and it deflected out, you know. So small thing, they could have been gotten the result.
Well, I think this is probably the way this thing is set up this year, Neil. I think it's our Hoagie for Neil and his lads with the no break between the league and the championship. It's perfectly set up for them because they're playing today. They'll play again next week at home, I presume, and they'll have a full run through the league, and then they'll only be 6 weeks out, even if they don't qualify for the semi-finals from championship.
They've got Dublin up at home now next week, so they'll fancy themselves in that match, as you know. You know, I've gone up there. I'm not sure. It could be in Ballycastle. I mean, I played up there. Like, that's a tough place to go and win, as Clare found out last year. You know, and I've no doubt there'll be no fear of Dublin coming up. You know, they'll be waiting for him and probably targeting that one for potential. You know,
my first time playing Railway Cup under the managementship of Michael Babs Keating. I'm highly honoured to be picked for this Munster squad in 1993. Off up we went the night before. We booked into this hotel where there was a disco, but being only one or two from Clare who didn't decide to partake in the disco, but some of his own charges, the Tipperary team of the 90s, decided to go to the disco, I think. Now, no disrespect to Ulster hurling, but some of them weren't in the best shape the following day. But we got out of the Railway Cup. First time playing for Munster, beaten by Ulster. Low blow. But anyway, just said it is. Yeah, that was the old casement, I tell you. Tough place to go. So, yeah, and Hoagie touched on it there. TJ, a big win for Kevin and Henry and Golliv in Pure Stadium. Got the goals, and I think a steep learning curve for Offaly. And we spoke about this last year, it's guess that if Michael Fennelly can, you know, compartmental. Oh, Jesus, words this morning are bad to come. If he can put these results in a certain box and say, yeah, this is what we learned this day. This is what we have to do better, right? And drive on. We said it with Westmeath last year. Some of the hidings they got. It's going to be very hard. Will these take it out of them for the Joe McDonagh? And it didn't. They won the Joe McDonagh. You know, they used all the learnings from the hidings they got. And I think that in some, I'm not saying they're going to get hidings every day now, Offaly, but they just saw the difference, the step up. They are improving. Duignan's done a great job as manager, having Mick Fennelly in there. Very measured interview last night, the Sunday game. I felt, you know, I said, look, we have certain targets, and we're trying to meet those. And days like today, they can either throw us off or keep us on those targets. So I'd say it's to maybe try and stay in Division 1 and win the Joe McDonagh. So you need not to get thrown off by those days yesterday.
100%. I was talking to Kevin there at the early part of last week. He actually had a tough week because he lost his father-in-law, Noel Tracy, who's a former chairman of the county board, was Kevin's father-in-law. He passed away, and the funeral was on the weekend, so he had a busy weekend. But they had seen the improvements in Offaly for sure. They had played them, and they had seen that Offaly had played very well against Dublin. So they treated this game with the respect that it deserved, and they wanted to get this regime off to a winning start. And they picked a strong team. There was a couple of new players in this Galway setup, and certainly in the forwards, and maybe guys that they were looking at to see could they play in those wing forward roles. They will have been very, very happy with that start. Like, obviously to score 4 goals, huge, to get the first win. And I suppose also a little bit conscious that their second game was away to Limerick, so you didn't want to be starting the league maybe with a difficult start. So they'll be very happy. I'm sure if you talk to anybody in the Galway setup today, they'll say, look, it's round 1 over, it's a victory, it's what we wanted, now let's move on, we're very focused. Like you said there, Dalo, in this league and the way we get to this league final, things are going to be very happening very quick. So managers aren't going to get a whole lot of time to be looking back because matches are coming ticking quick. You need to get your couple of results, and as Hogan said there, I think teams in general will want to make sure they win their home games, give themselves a platform, whilst having a look with April 17th in mind to make sure that your house is in order, you know what's required. And I think the teams like definitely Galway, possibly Wexford, and maybe, as Hogan said, and possibly Tipperary, they need to find some new blood from last year. And that's why this league will be important to them. Not so much in terms of winning the league, but I think in identifying those new players. So happy start for that management team, for sure.
Yeah, and like I'm sure, like Hoagie said about Kilkenny, you know, that Henry will be feeling he'll know more next Saturday night after coming out of the Gaelic grounds, you know, with Limerick after being kind of chasing the bit by the defeat. The other game, lads, was Tip. Seemed to do enough. I'd say it wouldn't have been overly, you know, I'd say like Cody wouldn't have been 100% happy, Colin Bonner, but they got the job done against 14-man Laois, as I say, Cheddar. So I'm interviewed there last night, didn't show too much of it. Can see Inda Roland, of course, was everywhere up hitting frees and just did enough, I suppose, like some Mark Keogh and Craig Morgan got a fair bit of praise. I'm just looking through some of the streams last night, and Craig Morgan is one that he captained them to win the 21s there 2-3 years ago, and Kilruan, good cornerback, and he seemed to have a big influence. Jason Ford, of course, and he was to have him as our captain in fantasy hurling, took care of the business for us there. I see Marco smiling at you. You've made significant progress on the table, Marco.
I'm sticking with my man Evan Nyland, and I still want to know why he wasn't in the starting 15 last year. So I can tell you now, I'm balls deep in with him this year because how he was left out of the team last year, Shane O'Neill and co. That's why you lost your job. You went for Canning. Canning is gone. Shane O'Neill is gone. Nyland is in. And Shefflin. Shefflin could be, lads. This could be Galway's year. I'm predicting it early.
I tell you what.
Get on to 7-1, Dalo.
He got a goal from playing all yesterday, like, you know. One of the things I think the quarterfinals of the Fitzgibbon are on during the week, and they're at home in UIG. They beat UCC. I'd say they might meet again, or UL maybe, I don't know. But I see Brian Concannon had to go off after 20 minutes yesterday. Now I hope it's not too serious, but just I've no other details in that other than Brian Concannon 20, someone for Brian Concannon, so he did big loss.
Am I right in saying that Owen Cody qualifies for Carlow IT?
Yeah, he's down there, yeah.
And just a question, O'Brien, is he going to play during the week, I wonder, for Carlow IT with the match?
No, not with Ballyhale Hurling at the weekend, no.
No chance.
No, it came up in discussion now, like, you know, I wonder, will he play? Because to be fair to Kilkenny players, they've always played in all competitions. They've never been wrapped up, like, but I was just wondering, because he played Harty Cup a number of years ago and also played with Ballyhale and got the goal against Ballygunner. And he played Harty, was it a couple of days previous? Or was it the day before?
No, he didn't play Harty because that's an old Munster competition. You know, we don't partake in any of those jokes. we play proper competitions up this end, Mark. But but no, you're right. You're right. Yeah, you would play for Kieran's
right. And yeah, when we were playing under 18 and a half, we call it Harty down with under 18 and a half, because you were playing under 19 above in Leinster. You forgot that, did you? The extra half a year, like. No wonder you were winning most of those All Ireland.
Come out of Munster, there's other hurling
competitions. You had an extra half a year on them. Took us a bit of white cup onto that one, but anyway.
He sounds just like Jackie Turrell there. And come here, Kieran's and the CBS are playing this week, are they, Hoagie?
No, are they playing? I thought they were gone. Is that fixture happening?
I thought Kieran's were gone as well. Someone thought.
It's 16 and a half. What happened was Dublin Colleges beat Kieran's, but Dublin Colleges, because they're a combined, they can't go into the All Ireland competition. Yeah. So as a result, then Kieran's and CBS had to play each other to decide. So that must be on this week. I didn't.
Okay.
Yeah, but they were both beaten in the Leinster Championship. Right. Again, because Dublin Colleges had won, they can't obviously go ahead. Which I don't know. I think it's ridiculous. They should let them go on.
Yeah, maybe they're allowed into that. But
But
that's a great story. No. Great story in the famed Harty Cup. Hoagie, you'll forgive me, and I'm not even blowing about Flannan's this time now. Is St. Joseph's Tulla. Like, I swear now, if there was betting allowed on schools competitions, like 3 months ago, maybe even 50-1 that'd be nice, maybe higher, 66-1 to win it out. Like, they'd never won a match in the Harty Cup. They got 2 draws and a defeat. I think in the other years they were ever in it. And
but you made a great. Yeah, you made a great point today, Dalo. Only 300 students going to the school, and they beat all the big names in Harty Cup. Reach, Coleman, De La
Salle. Yeah, unbelievable now. And you know, it was very emotional as well. Like we Alicia's driving me because I'm still not driving, but so she said, "Oh Jesus, if we go to the Gaelic grounds now for the match, we'll make Cork in for the hurling match." And as it turned out, we made the right call. I think nearly everybody that stayed for the whole of the Harty match got caught in traffic and only got into Páirc Uí Chaoimh at half time. So we went down and parked up. We listened all the way down to Derek Lynch and Tommy Gilfoyle, my old teammate, for Clare. And Tommy's club is Fecal, and Fecal would be one of the main schools feeding into Tulla. You know, they'd be just there 4 miles, 5 miles from him. And the captain and 3-4 of the best players from Fecal on it, you know. And God, he was at the final whistle. Like, I haven't heard Tommy. Like, you know, Tommy scored 2 goals to beat Tip in '94, and I don't remember him as emotional like in the dressing room. It was in bits, and it's just a fairy tale story, isn't it? And you know what they did? What they did was they never said die in all those games. The last 3 games, quarterfinal, semi-final, and they were a testimony to every team should be looking at them and saying, what was different about them? They just refused to be beaten, kind of like, you know, to some thing to have in your team, isn't it? That will to win and that never say die.
It's unreal. Like, is it that they have an extremely good crop of players at the moment, or where do they? Like you said, they didn't win a match in the Harty Cup, and they've gone on and won the whole thing.
They wouldn't be in the Harty Cup hardly ever, Brian. To be honest with you, they're playing B always now. Very proud school and would have produced loads of great players for Clare and that. But yeah, 2 years ago they gave Flannan's their best match in the quarter final of the Harty. In Cusick Park, huge crowd there that day, and Flannan's coasted really the semi-final and final after. Then COVID hit, so there was no Harty last year. They have a crop, I suppose, but yeah, it would be literally Fecal, Tulla, Clooney Quinn, who I leave Crusheen, Killanena, smallish clubs like, you know. Yeah. Fecal and Killanena join up for underage, and they're usually strong in an amalgamation. Tulla'd usually stay in their own. Sometimes to be with maybe Padraic, maybe there was someone from O'Callaghan's Mills as well. Should say fingers to shoot me. You'd never mention the Mills lads. But no, it's incredible. Like, a lot of them have never played a underage hurling in Clare, Brian. Do you know? A lot of them have never played a, and to be winning the Harty Cup, it's the fairy tale story. And some night in Tulla, Saturday night, the pitch invasion, I believe the cavalcade back to Tulla and up the wide and swept hill of Tulla with the Harty Cup. And isn't it a beautiful story? Like, we so used to saying Kieran's won that and Flannan's won that, and then, you know, even Middleton, Mark, you know, it's brilliant. There'd be a bit of Coleman's near enough duty, you know.
Yeah, it's a massive story as well, Dalo. And I think that there's obviously some positive stories with Clare underage players because of the Flannans a couple of years ago. this now. And then there's a good sprinkling of Clare players in the Ardscoil Reach setup as well. And I think even in, did I see there with the Dean Ryan team in Ardscoil Reach, I think is nearly mostly Clare. Like, so an awful lot of good youngsters.
Flanners beat them in the final.
Flanners beat them in the final. Which is again, but yeah, the Tulla story seemed to get us pace there. And as you said there, just refused to lie down. And I did see some of the pictures there and some of the on the pitch celebrations afterwards. And you can just nearly feel the madness around it. But what a result, yeah. And even odds wise would have been up against it going in against like Ardscoil, like, and you know what I mean, the history that they had. But it's always difficult for any team to do something for the first time. So it takes a lot of preparation, a lot of driving. So there's obviously somebody out there responsible for getting this group together and getting the training and doing all that. And it usually takes somebody with a bit of vision. So fair play to them. Brilliant story.
Yeah, and on that, TJ, Terence Fahey, who would have won, he's a Clare 20 manager as well this year. I was putting your buddy from Gary Spillane, Kildare, in touch with him there. Kildare 20s. Unslepton. In touch with Terence. He's a Clare 20 manager as well. He's the manager who he has with him is Tomas Kelly from Ina, great underage coach with Ina. And who they have with him as well in this cast is Aidan Hart. Aidan Hart is teaching, just retired from the Galway setup. Yeah. Aidan, they're the three on the line. So it's a fair line up on the line as well, you know. So obviously, and he, you know, what got him said that after the match. Ardscoil, Ahan.
Niall Moran.
TJ, thanks to memory. Niall said, this is all about Tulla, but he said, look, as small and all as Tulla is now, and they are the story, really well coached. He said, like, Terence Fahey, Tomas Kelly, Aidan Hart, they know what they're doing as well, like, you know, so, and that was kind of the feedback from the players as well. So, huge congratulations to Tulla. Of course, they could see Ardscoil again before the year's out. They could see Kieran's on the CBS too. But that's only the All-Ireland colleges. That's not the Harty Cup. Are you listening, TJ? Stop. No. Yeah. Lads, I'd love to have been in a load of places on Saturday. I'd love to have been at the racing festival in Leopardstown. I'd love to have been in Clonmel. I'd love to be in Clonmel right now, actually, at the finals of the National Coursing meeting. It's cruelty not to be there, but for various reasons we couldn't go this year. But no doubt there'll be a major crowd there today. I suppose 20,000 there today for the finals. So best of luck to everyone who's still standing as we record. You wouldn't be able to sleep a wink last night unless you had a few hot ones. I tell you, if you had one standing this morning, going in the back, the lower gate, the lodge gate, they call it, and it's only a poor man's horse racing now, the coursing by, but Jesus, it's real stuff. It's real stuff, I'll tell you. I'd give anything to be going in the lodge gate this morning with owners' tickets. Next year, well, we haven't even named yet, but he'll be there. But,
have you, Madra? Have you got one on the way?
Yeah. We bought him last Stephen's Day in a Shebeen.
Over a few pints.
Yeah, and the lad that we bought him off was with us, and he woke up the following day, and he's a ball of money in his pocket. And because we were having a few bets as well. There was a lad down the bookie, and the King George was on racing for Leopardstown, Limerick and everything, and telling all inside in display. So them Shebeens were class, like, weren't they? German woke up and he says to the missus, he says, "Jeez, I must have won a ball of money." He says, "Racing, I got awful drunk." He said, "They were drinking those shots and those pints." And it was 12 or 13 of us in this place, like socially distanced, obviously, no. But she said, "You did." She took out the ball of money and put it in next thing. So he rang the lad on the premises and he said, "Did I have a lot of winners in the races? We bought a fucking dog off you clown." He says. And she hadn't even popped yet, the bitch, but she was due the following week. And the story, it's a great story, actually. He thought he'd won a few coins, but he'd actually sold one of his pups. Anyway, so he came into the earth. Anyway, he's not named yet, but he's a fine looking sapling now. A sampling, as they say around here. The other place I'd like to have been, lads, was in Crow Park, I have to say, for the club championship finals, the junior and intermediate. I think it's a magic day. Obviously, TJ, we had a little friendly tenner. You win that. You got a fair run for your money, though. Mace having a great win against Kilmiley. Gallant Kilmiley to fight back. Thought they were gone, like following it on Twitter while I was sitting in Pockekeeve. And, Jesus, the fight back and the goal. I think a few chances then maybe to level it and just it wouldn't come. And I think Naas go down the field and get the one to seal it, and great for Naas as well, because like likes of Owen up there and those people, Tom Mullaney, and like they're really trying to get Naas and Kildare hurling up to the next level, and that's fantastic. The contrast being Kinmiley struggling to field a minor team this year, last year, you know, amalgamating with Ballyhaig, etc., to have a minor team, and yet they're there as well on the very same hour, and could have brought back that cup to Kinmiley very easily as well last night. And I know I saw it on Facebook. I saw a fantastic reception they got when they came home last night to that small part in North Kerry where there's the field, the school, the church, and the Toker being the pub. So, you know, I didn't get to see it yet now, TJ, but I'm home to watch it tonight there and the highlights, and then I'll get the full stream of it for during the week. But it seemed to be, you know, you probably couldn't follow it, but you knew the scores and who's winning. And
I obviously with Owen, you'd be following Naas all the time, and I met another friend of mine, Tom Maloney, at the races yesterday, who's living in Naas, and he's doing a bit of work there on the hurling side of it as well, and he was kind of filling me in as to what's happening. He said they're a very good side, and you know, I would say maybe long term, I'd say Naas they'd probably like to play maybe in the senior competition, like that's where their ambition would be, which is great. But great opportunity for those clubs. I said that last weekend, and two very tight games, say both the intermediate and the junior. And I was listening to a small bit of the commentary in the Ballygibblin game. There was again passion and madness coming out through the radio and trying to get this game level. And you probably seen Hoagie that sideline that somebody got out of 2 iron there and just knocked the ball over the bar to put them 2 up, like, which was a massive score and what an impact it had in the game. But look, great win for Naas. We've always said that, I suppose, hurling people, that you'd like to see these places improving. There's a big population in Naas and in Kildare. There is a big appetite for hurling now amongst the group, and Owen and the boys are driving it. They'd like to get them. They won a couple of good games underage there for the last couple of years. They're trying to push this forward. They'll be, I would say, trying to maybe get Kildare. And I would say these guys will vision and maybe an ambition to get Kildare maybe playing Division 1 hurling in the future. And as mad as that sounds, that's what they'll be chasing. And this is just another part of it.
Yeah, it's very real. I beat Wexford last year in the under-20s.
Yeah.
You know, it's very real, the progress they're making. And you can see it. You can actually track it from failing the Gale times where they used to go into the A. You know, you'd have the Kilkenny champions, the Cork champions, Galway champions, etc. And then the Kildare champions deciding to fail at Division 1 and winning it. You know, so, yeah. And
a lot of those guys, Dalo, would have played down in Kilkenny. You know, they come down underage and they play in the A division down here in the league. And I suppose that's from I suppose credit goes to go to obviously to the Kildare County Board for agreeing to it, and to Naas, you know, and you know, Kilkenny for allowing them to come in. But I've been involved with the club under 15s for the last 3 years, and there's no messing about with them. Every time they come down, if there's a match on a Thursday evening at 7:00, they're there at 6, and they're, you know, prepared down on the bus. The parents are all there, and you know, the players are they're doing their warm-ups and they're ready to go, and they mean business. They're serious about it, you know. And this has been going on for the last 10 years, you know. And look, I'm not saying that's the reason. It's a small part that helps give them, I suppose, more competitive games. And you mentioned Tom Mullaney there. Like, Tom Mullaney is a great track record. He's been involved with St. Mullins. He was involved with Clara when, you know, my brother would speak very highly of him when they won the county championships. And now he's up with Naas and doing great work up there, you know. So, you know, great to see, you know, a great hurling man. Obviously, Glenmore, you know, and you know, Richie and Paddy down there, you know. So, you know, it's another, you know, a great feather in his cap as well. And, you know, it's delighted. You spoke about it, I think, last week on the podcast, you know, about the fact that a Kerry and Kildare All-Ireland club final, isn't it fantastic? It's just, it's powerful, you know.
Yeah, it's going to be a win-win. And, well done to Naas. I know the work that's going in. We had the Kildare underage mentors down here in the Outback, down here in the summer, and we had a great evening with them, and they were good guys. You know, the passion was oozing out through them to get the... just to mention again, just huge credit to John Myler, to Shane Brick, to Maurice Murnan, and those lads in Kilmiley. What they give every ounce goes to the cause, and they'll be back. I'd say the stripy men from Limerick. They'll be a good day down there today. Now, to be dangerous old place to be going across in the fairytale. TJ, I said, if I got a notion now, even be as the crow flies, like it'll be about 40 minutes away. Like, you know,
you need a driver.
That's the problem.
TJ's the funeral. He's the funeral at 12:30, but he's probably available from 1:30 onwards. Della.
Were you ever on the Shannon Ferry, TJ?
No, I know about it, but no, I wouldn't have been. As the crow flies, you said, it would be a different part of the world for me, so I could jump down to Kerry fairly quick. No, I'm off as limits today, as Marco said. Good friend of mine, Les Whelan, his mum is going to the church and being buried today, so I'm going to give Les a hand to give her a good send off there. We're going to mass at 12:30. So no, good days. You know, like in fairness to the GA, those day after shows when the panel and the group get together. I've said this before, and win and in fairness and losing, and we've all been in those different places. Like they are a good day, and there's a great kind of a community feel to the following day where all the guys inside the ropes, when it's the club and the mentors and the players, and you get together and you try and drown the old sorrows, and then the talk of this year and next championship will come about, and the buzz will come back, and we move on, and that's the beauty of the GAA, isn't it?
Yeah. Great win for Moonkind as well. Great game as well. Ballygiblin will be sore. Mark didn't bring it home, but Jesus, it was Martin O'Neill took the sideline ball. I tell you, Kenning in his heyday would have been. It was more like a Ronan Maher one. You know, where Ronan Maher goes back and hits those yokes. Jesus, it was way out. Like it was well inside his own half, I think, and absolutely nailed it to seal the win. I think for them. And Ballygiblin again had some fantastic run, Mark.
Yeah, but look, they'd be absolutely thrilled to get to the final. Look, having won a county and having won Munster, beating Skeen or Rinky was a huge part for them. Their next door neighbours, and nearly all the lads in both teams that went to school together. But I suppose when you get to an All-Ireland final, Anthony, you were hoping that you'd get over the line, that you'd push over the. But like Moonkind were there 5 years ago and Mayfield beat them. So I mean, that's really what Ballygiblin will have to say to themselves today. We didn't get over the line today, but look, we're not going to lose a whole pile of players. Hopefully everybody will throw in their lot, and obviously they've been promoted and they've gone up a division. And that obviously brings a bit more life to the club as well. And Mark Keane is involved with the Coxina team. I think Darragh Flynn was involved. He was one of the 4 people that was brought onto the panel. I don't know, was there a bit of... I don't think he should have played maybe in the last match. He's injured, and I'm not 100% certain about what his status is on the senior team at the moment or on the panel. But, you know, he's a good lad and wanted to play for his club. And that look, I think any fellow who wants to play when he's injured, even though, you know, medically it might be the right thing, but I think he's made of the right stuff, which is he wants to go through the pain barrier for his club or for his county. And, you know, I think he's a very bright future. But it was a huge year for them, but they'd be really, really disappointed. But I think overall, the neutrals would say that Moonkind was slightly the better team on the day. They had a better spread of scorers overall, and that they probably deserved it. But when there's only a point in it, as you know, a draw would probably be a great result, I suppose. But it wasn't to be, unfortunately.
My neutral man there, he goes to all these sort of games, and he says to me, God, he said, Ballygiblin be kicking themselves a bit. Mark Keane was centre back, and he said, wasn't really in it. They play Moonkind cleverly, moved it, hit nothing down the middle to him, you know, the size of him. And I think when they were a few points down, they threw him up full forward, and they found it very hard to handle him. He nearly dragged them back into it, nearly get them over the line, but Moonkind said overall, it'd be interesting to see where Kieran Kingston will have a look at him now. You know, that actually is the big question, because personally, I think I don't know, would I be taking a chance of putting them in centre back, to be honest. And it's going to be a big debate. Like they have, you know, Tim O'Mahony, Mark Coleman, and Rob Downey now in the half back line, and that is a very, very strong, positive, big, physical, plenty of movement in that half back line. But I suppose the biggest question is Mark Coleman. You know, if you come up against the likes of the Keane Lynches and the centre forward in the current game seems to drift away, you know, what are Cork going to do? Like, are they going to get the centre back to go with the centre forward? You know, we've often discussed this on this show, but like Darragh Fitzgibbon seems to be coming back to his form. He was excellent at the weekend. And Kieran Joyce, as we had alluded to last year, I think I might have nicknamed him Rolls Royce Joyce. I think there's a chance that that's going to stick with him. He's a good kid now. He's a real good player. Okay, we'll move on to that. So, Mark, instead of being in Croke Park or in Leopardstown or in Clonmel, right, I'm going to have to go there. She jumped into that. Said, don't mention the Aviva now again, right? Don't mention that stuff for the rest of the day. Heave and all this. Hoagie, what were you saying there?
No, just before you go off, I just want to say huge congratulations to Moonkind. Obviously, I didn't acknowledge it. fantastic win for them. I think there's 7 of their players under 21, so great future for them going up into the melting pot that is intermediate hurling now in Kilkenny. They're a huge, I wouldn't know much about them because they're down, most of them go to school in Waterford, in Delasala and that. So I texted 1 or 2 lads down there that I do know just to kind of make a few inquiries to see if there's anything there potentially moving into, could offer something to Kilkenny, So look, we'll see over the next year or two. But no, congratulations to them. And one correction there, I think I mentioned Tom Mullally involved with St. Mullins. I'd be shot. It was Mount Leinster, not St. Mullins. You don't want to get that one wrong.
You don't get that one wrong there. No, Hoagie, I was about to go across to you to give the Moonkind perspective until your men got onto the cock-calf backline, somewhere. Mark Keane, he just manages to do that. So, look, well done. Yeah, huge congrats. Said Naas and Moonkind, All-Ireland champions. Well done, guys, and enjoy it. Everyone doesn't get to say it. But, yeah, Laois threw me into the front seat of the Datsun, and we bet for the park by the Lee. And the weather got better as we went down along. Actually, it was pouring rain passing Limerick, and I was saying the Harty Cup final would be a washout, but in actual fact, I think it was very bad early in the Harty, but it dried up. But Cork was lovely, and it didn't got misty in the evening, all right. But Cork, Clare looked to be doing everything right early on, and tipping away nicely, and got the goal, and then hardly scored, bar a point, I think, for about the next half an hour. So Cork completely took over. And you're right, Mark, that half-back line. Should it be the half-forward line, Mark? That's what I wrote down here in my old few notes when I was like, should it be the half-forward line? Because Coleman passed me out at one stage, like in the second half, and I was sitting where the half-forward line should be. And with a lovely fella, Finn Berlahan at Barsman, that I used to work with in the bank. You used to work with Finn as well. Yeah. Sitting beside Finbar just by chance, and we got a fit of laughing too. And we were talking mostly bank in the second half because it was gone that boring, the match. Coleman passed me out, and I says, "Jeez, that's your centre back there, Finbar." And he said, "It's mad, isn't it?" But you know what? I glanced back the field while that was going on, Mark, and who was sprinting back to the centre back position? Ronan Joyce. So I said, "So there is someone saying, get in the pocket, get in the hole." So maybe as a system it can work. But they're brilliant going forward. I saw Manny what he done with the goal. Downey's good going forward as well. But I'd have my doubts defensively if you could afford the 3 of them. You know what I mean? That you wouldn't have one really strong man marker. And you could say maybe Downey's that. And look, if you watch Tim O'Mahony's goal as well, 2 or 3 Clare lads stood. And I'd be very disappointed with the Clare lads' attitude now. You might be missing 5 or 6 of your best players, but you must go down and fight the fight. We saw the way Dublin, Oxford, Waterford all fought like savages. Clare didn't fight so for next Sunday against Wexford, Clare know what's coming and they have to fight. So I'm going to just say that that he was let off and he wasn't tracked and he passed out 2 or 3 lads and they decided to let him off. He's not my man. That's not good enough. But defensively, as you say, with the likes of the Cian Lynches, maybe a Tony Kelly, who else, Waterford could have anyone in that role. You could have Shane Bennett there at 11 and drifting. Could have anyone in that role. Jason Ford could play 11 and drift.
Look, it has been a big issue for Cork. There's no point in saying otherwise. Like Limerick have it down to a T. Their half-back line will sit inside the 45, and the 2 lads in the middle of the field, they cover an amount of ground. They never leave their backs exposed. I think you can do that when you have a really good quality team. I think Limerick are the best team in the country at the moment. Cork, I think, are still a work in progress, but there's a huge amount of youth and shape starting to come into the panel, I would say now. Even just looking at the 6 backs now as one unit, right? And I'd probably include Dalo Fitz and Kieran Joyce in the middle of the field. And I'm not saying this is our starting front 8, but Niall O'Leary, John Milrick, Sean O'Donoghue, Tim, Sean, Matt Coleman, Downey, and the 2 boys, they have massive pace, and if the 8 of them can clink together and stop this, this roving Limerick half forward line and get them working together, because they have pace now and they have enough hurling as well. We might be onto something here. The biggest question is whether John Melrick can hold down the number 3 jersey, and then can Matt Coleman, and maybe it might be Kieran Joyce in a flip-flopping position, centre back, centre field. Can they stop that? We said the likes of the Cian Lynch, and he really is the person who sets the standard. He's going on
Was very impressed with Limerick at 3 now, Mark. They did, like, Clare weren't good now. You have to say the other days will be more tested.
And yes, there are bigger tests to come, there's no doubt. And
Clare played the 2 young lads up front, young Rogers and young Lee.
But Clare haven't done well in the league, to be fair, coming to Cork over the last number of years. And I suppose from our perspective, after the I suppose the humiliation of the All-Ireland final last year, it was good to get back on the field of play and put in a positive performance. The other thing is that Padraic Hogan wasn't started either. The likes of Robbie Flynn wasn't started. So they're 2 forwards that probably will come into the team. And like, even when you're looking up front, I'm looking at Robbie Harty. I think Luke Meade should play the 12 role, because that role whereby when the puck out goes from the opposition and your half forward is going back the line, I think he'll play that role better, because I think he understands the role, and I think he will fulfill what the management actually want. He'll do what he's told. Whereas I think we have a couple of other forwards that may not want to do that work. They won't have the attitude to do that. And then inside, the likes of Kingston, Hoggy, Jack O'Connor, like that would more than likely be the starting 15. And I mean, we're getting into the championship there now, like, but like Shane Barrett, Lahan, Cadigan, Conor Callahan, Paddy Power, they'll all be fighting for positions. And it is a very positive sign, I think, on the Cork side, you know, that there will be, for the first time in a long time, real opposition. There's nobody guaranteed their places. There's opposition for every position in the field. But the biggest question, obviously, now after the weekend is, you know, if we go to a Welsh park, when you see the physicality of the Dublin and the Waterford game, if we go to a Parnell Park, right, can these lads match the pace and the speed with the physicality and the pure brutality? And it's brutal. There's no point in saying otherwise. We need to see will those lads stand up to the physicality when it comes to the real championship side of things, you know?
Well, you've no worries about us anyway, Mark. You're not even got the players at home. You're letting us come on just to Thurles to play. You're not worried about us one iota. Ed Sheeran is playing instead of us in Páirc Keith.
I think they tossed the coin, and Ed won the toss on this occasion.
Ed won the toss, yeah.
We could do with a couple of million, Dalo, just in case we have debts to pay. Like,
we could do with Tony Kelly. That's all I know.
TK, yeah. This was a game I did see on GA Go. Great service to be able to flick it on Saturday evening. Brilliant to watch. Can't believe you win today, the even macro. Just on that actual point. I just can't believe it. But anyway, the very impressive. The very impressive Cork, no doubt. Like, the word pace nearly comes into every single line with this Cork team now. Like, the pitch definitely did suit them. They moved the ball exceptionally well. You have to say the opening 20 minutes was good for Clare. They got some nice scores. They were moving the ball okay. Colin Malone was very impressive. Mark Rogers inside looked dangerous, but it just seemed to fall apart. Definitely under puck out in the restart. Clare, they came under real pressure. They moved 2 or 3 balls across the field, which was just bonkers.
Lord.
Oh my God.
50-50 balls.
50-50 balls. Which
from a corner back over to a wing back at the far side of the field.
Wasn't it? It was crazy. But I suppose the couple of big things for Cork, Marco, is can Ger Mellerick fill that number 3 spot? That's a big question. He probably got turned a little bit disappointingly for the goal that Mark Rogers scored. Well set up now, I have to say, by Clare. That's a big question for them. The centre back, like, and again, this is one of my biggest bakes with the GA and RT at the moment, is when you're not at the game, right? It's difficult to figure out exactly why can't we just have one wide angle shot at the team to see exactly who's playing where. Dalo, it did seem to me that there was a jump between Rob Downey and Mark Coleman from time to time. That Colin Malone was jumping kind of between 10 and 11. And at times Downey ended up in that number 6 position, and that Mark Coleman was out on the left and he bombed on. But Mark Coleman was more or less centre back, but they were pushing on at every opportunity. So it's system driven, and it definitely did work for sure. And like, your man in the middle of the field, no doubt, like when he put on the afterburners once, twice, he has a bucket load of pace. And the guys who came on, Shane Barrett looked good, you know, as I said, get Hoggy into the team, probably in that full forward line. Yeah, Marco, we hear you. It's all Cork. You have a nice fixture now, which is away to Offaly next, which you'll probably win. And then all of a sudden, that little Cork hype will be starting to build again. And yeah.
The red wave is on the way, TJ.
The red wave is on the way, yeah. We've heard it before, but no, definitely impressive. From a Clare point of view, yeah, a little bit worrying. Second half performance was extremely disappointing. Like, I'm not sure how strong that wind was, but the opening quarter, second half, no, wouldn't have been good enough. Tony Kelly, John Conlon, Peter Duggan, all these guys, Shane O'Donnell,
Aidan McCarthy, you know, we really can't afford to be without him, TJ.
That's to be fair.
Whoever's handed a jersey should fight. A tramp. You know, I'll allow that once, and I will say this now, it's the last I'll say about it, because Wexford are coming to town next week. Wexford showed everyone the physicality they brought below their own field yesterday. Like, if our fellas don't say it during the week, we're going to stand up and fight, and we'd be fighting, scrapping bottom of the table with Offaly, because none of these boys are coming back too quickly. We're hoping to have him for the championship.
What's the story with TK? Is it the end of the league, is it?
Look, he won't play league really, TJ. He might make the last match, and he won't play league. He's to be ready for championship. He doesn't need a setback now either. You know, it's the other thing, chatting away to people in Park Keefe, like how's Tony and will he be all right? And you know yourself, you can easily get a setback in these injuries. And if he does, and like, look, Peter Duggan had minor surgery, I think, last week or the week before. He'll be back as well, but again, it'll be late league. Shane O'Donnell hasn't started back training yet. Obviously, he had that concussion. Came back and played for Rogue in the quarterfinal, semi-final championship, and beaten then, and was advised to take another break. Now, the plan is he's to come back, and he's training, he's running on his own and all that, and Shane is always in great shape anyway. So, John Conlon nearly ready to go. Keane Galvin nearly ready to go. Played for UL last week. My own clubman. He's only young though, you know. He's only played one game last year, but he'd be a huge prospect. The signs of hope, as I said, you know, schools games alone. These fellas wouldn't be that young now. As we said, Harty now is under 19, and there is signs of hope. It's just
that's always a positive. And I suppose a word on Colin Galvin too. Like, we've enough of Cork here now, Marco. We've moved on. We're gone. We need to say something about Colin Galvin and Padraic Maher this week as well. We'll touch on Padraic in a while.
Oh, huge, TJ.
Like Colin Galvin as well, a big loss to that Clare team. Another really good, great brain around the middle of the field. Massive influencer on this Clare team as well, and big loss and big shoes.
That 13 team nearly destructed completely now. You know, nearly gone. Still a David Mack playing yesterday. Still have Tony to come back, with an awful lot of the main John Conlon obviously. But you know, when you think of the Conor McGrath, they were all like Gallas after retiring there, TJ, 28. Do you know, like, so it's just, I know, persistent injuries in the last 3 years, and it's disappointing though. It's just disappointing that you couldn't be hanging on to him for a bit longer to be blending. I mean, himself and Kelly midfield when they won those 321s, and then his performances, like, Jesus, in the league final in 16, himself and Jamie Barron on each other. Like, it's just, you'd certainly be saying at the time was two best midfielders in the country, you know, going hammer and tongs, and he's a huge loss. And yeah, I suppose Padraic Maher, we had a bit of an inkling last Monday, TJ, that was Padraic Maher, but we couldn't say it. He was entitled to say it himself, but and Ken was on with us. What a player, lads, and Hoagie would have done battle with him many times, and he was and I said it, I'd write a little piece about him, and I said, the amount of games I went to Gary Maguire before the game and said, will you keep it away from Maher, Gary? Will you, with the puck outs? We're on about puck outs and retain and stuff. I've said the best way we could retain it from Dublin's point of view is keep it away from the Bear Maher on the left wing. And Gary followed suit. And I thought he's one of the greatest players of an era, you know, real. Even when Yee had it over him, Hoagie, he always nearly stood his ground, didn't he?
Yeah, he was. I remember even in 09, he come in more or less out of minor. He was probably, 19, 20, and like physically didn't take a funk out of him, slotted in, had an immense game, and drove on from there. And I suppose the best I can say about him really is that, you know, there was very few occasions where, you know, over the years we would have identified specific players to, you know, not to target, but you know, like that we need to be especially conscious of, and he was one. When we played Tip, you know, it was right. We knew he was our talisman, you know, a bit like maybe Tommy on the other end for us, you know, if you clear the ball, the whole crowd jumped out of the seat, and he was that guy for Tip, you know, and he dragged the rest of the players with him. You know, he's a warrior, you know, and you know, it was, you know, we were very conscious of that. You know, how can we try and put him on the back foot, you know? And you know, I remember up in Carton House, and we were looking at different players to do a job on him, you know, in terms of, can we drag him? Can we, turn? What can we do to try and disrupt him, you know? And to his credit, you know, I mean, like, you're not going to physically dominate him. If you want to go there with him, he's happy out. hurling wise, you know, for a guy as physically strong and big, he was very mobile, you know, deceptively mobile. When he put the ball in the hurl and go, he was gone, you know, and he was, you know, yeah, look, he was a huge servant for Tipperary hurling over the years. And you can see, again, you know, I think it's the thing to do now is to send out an old tweet or a press release, I'm retiring and whatever else. But I think of any player, he certainly warranted or justified putting it out. And you know, look, the comments that came back, you know, from across the GA community, you know, I think just speak volumes for the caliber of guy he was on the field. You know, didn't really get to know him personally off the field, unfortunately, but certainly on the field, you know, he was a serious operator, a serious competitor.
Would you believe, Dalo, I actually met him last Monday after the podcast. We did the podcast here, and I walked up the road, and we had a cup of coffee, and who arrived on? Only the ball Paddy himself. He's actually a guard here in Limerick City, based in Mayorstone. I wouldn't like to be the perpetrator in trouble, and Paddy Maher comes along and just in his guard uniform, I think you just down tools. But he's just
some from the city now, TJ said, well, no,
yeah,
you bad neck, kid.
But a great physically imposing player. Like, even just stand beside him today, and he's in great physical shape. Obviously, I'd say he was looking forward to the season ahead, but he's just going to be a big loss to the game. But a true warrior. Even some of the clips that were shown there, the one against, was it Jack Brown and Ballyea, where he just whipped across him, or some of those tackles or the hits on Joe Canning, like those type of pictures and movies embodied him. What a player, and what a loss for Tip. And I agree with Brian. I think of all the players, when he won the ball in the ruck, or when he caught that ball out of the air, I think it meant a lot to Tipperary as a unit and as a crowd, and they got behind him and it turned them into games. But one of the greats, without a doubt, one of the best defenders to don the jersey in our era that we've seen over the last, let's say, 10, 12 years, much as the 13 seasons he was playing or whatever. But yeah.
He gave it. It's amazing. He gave it and he took it. I think, you know, in lots of ways, TJ.
He listens to us too.
The iconic hit a shoulder on Joe in 16, and then Garrod McInerney levelled him with a similar one in 17, and nearly guaranteed Garrod his all-star nearly. But, you know, he put down Paddy, and that's, I suppose, what we're, you know, Paddy will know that as well. He got caught for one. He gave a good one. He got caught for one, and that is the one. And the one against Ballyea where he didn't even flinch, and Hurley was broke across his face card.
Just walks away.
Yeah, did I get a belt there? Did I?
Yeah.
Yeah. Look, no. I mean, it must be tough for Colin Bonner as well, lads. Think about that panel, and I know it's evolving. You've no Paddy
to me now is a big.
But you've no Brendan either in the dressing room, and no Brendan either, Mark, in the dressing room. Can you imagine the two of those in the dressing room taking over as manager?
And the thing about it, like, is that in Paddy's situation, the season is up and running. And if you're in the 34 or 35 fellas, and there's a lot of younger lads in that panel, they would be looking to the Padraic Mayers and saying, at least we Paddy anyway, like, because we've all been in dressing rooms when you need your top 3 or 4 fellas in togging off, playing in the league or playing in the championship, and you know yourself, you know, you'll be a better team for the fact that he will be there for you. I just found it a bit strange that this announcement didn't actually happen before the season started. So he obviously must have been giving himself every opportunity to be still involved this year. And it's a big blow to Colin Bonner, I would say. No, obviously, the big news is that Ronan Maher is the captain, and he's a great leader as well. So you have one Maher going out, but you have another Maher stepping up into the captain's armband after the weekend. But I think Padraic's loss is monumental for Tipperary, and I don't think it hasn't happened at a good time for Colin Bonner either right now. And it's a big
we wish you the best. Wish you the best, Paddy, and you, Gal, as well. Gal is going playing club at least. I mean, for Paddy, Thurles Sarsfields is an unmerciful loss as well, isn't it? Because you'd always be hoping you get another couple of years. And I know Colin Galvin is going back playing with Clonlara, and just goes to show the demands, lads, in the modern player now.
Two very different hurlers there. Like, obviously, Padraic was built on this physically imposing, you know, and a great hurler. But Galvin was just, you know, he always reminded me a little bit of Cha for us, you know, in terms of sitting in the midfield, just his distribution of ball, his use of ball, his awareness, his ability to get long range scores, even from watching him from minor 21, you know, because you knew this Clare team was coming, so you were probably looking at them a bit closer than maybe other teams. And yeah, it's sad at 28 years of age, but I suppose as well, the miles that he has on the clock. I mean, from the age of 17, himself and Tony Kelly and McInerney, these guys have been identified as stars of the game, you know. And you know, an age is an age, but you know, there's some lads who are 28 and they wouldn't have half the games.
Half the hurling done,
yeah, exactly. You know, and he's a massive. You know, you hate seeing quality hurlers like the two lads go, but unfortunately, that's the nature of the sport. It's becoming more and more, you know, attritional, and we spoke about it, but yeah, I suppose I wanted to mention he's a player I always loved watching. You know, those type of, you mentioned Jamie Barron as well. Those guys are just all business in there in the middle of the field and just punching above their weight physically, but Jesus, like, you know, serious hurlers.
Yeah, for sure, and we wish them well here. We've been through it, I suppose, and they get to announce it on Twitter and all that. Huggy, you had to go down and knock at Cody's door and say, "Hey, do you want me?" No, enough, you know.
He didn't answer the phone.
No, that's okay, Brian. The best of luck. You got a few medals. Unbelievable.
Dalo, just before you go away, I want to just digress back to something that happened actually over the weekend for the local club here in Castlemartyr.
Want to say anything about Bundy Aquino or one of them?
No, not Bundy Aquino, but there's a guy by the name of Mac Hansen, right, who made his debut for the Irish rugby team on Saturday. And Kieran Joyce obviously made his debut as well on Saturday. But so Mac Hansen's grandfather emigrated 50 years ago, himself and his wife. John O'Shea was his name. He emigrated 50 years ago with his 8 children. And one of his grandchildren is Mac Hansen. And he's next door neighbours to Danjo Joyce, who's Kieran Joyce's grandfather. So 50 years on, their grandchildren made their debuts in their respective sports within 3 hours of each other. Now, that's a bit of a record. I'd be waiting for anybody in the podcast now next week to come up with something better than that.
Well, we know which neighbour you choose to go and watch anyway. And I leave it at that.
Couldn't make it to the park.
Danjo turned his grave. He could be alive now for all I know.
No, Danjo is very much alive, and I'm sure I'm very proud. Oh, absolutely. I met him actually at my great buddy Tommy and Brian's funeral there last year. There was actually a match on at the same time, and he didn't go to the match. He paid his respect to his friend Tommy and Brian at the time. So, Danjo, if you're listening in, I certainly know his son Kerry, who's Kieran's father, listens to the show all the time, and he gets great fun out of it, great amusement out of it. So, well done, lads.
And that is the last mention of the egg chasing in 2022 on the show. Thank you, Mark. Even though you might be going to Paris next week or anything, you wouldn't know each other, you know. I know all the best about the rugby.
We go for the crunch.
I go from there. I'm going to go to the Battle of Parnell, is what I'm going to call it. Jesus, this was a war of attrition. It wasn't the most prettiest thing to watch in some ways, but in other ways, you were saying, Jesus, these boys will be sore tomorrow morning. It had all the Colm Canning refereed it. Let's say, lads, he had Colm Cunning, from Antrim, had a tough day. I think he dished out 14 yellows, 2 blacks, and 2 reds. So that will tell you about the game and how both teams were up for it. I enjoyed it. I thought it was. We had 2. I don't know if you saw this Sunday game or that, TJ. We had 2 of these black cards. Yeah. The second one was exactly what the black card was brought in for. It was a brilliant move by Waterford. Little slip pass to a brilliant run from Austin Gleeson. Gleeson at times, you just take your breath away. And instead of shooting over like a lot of lads would, he spots that Daly, I think, Jack Prendergast is inside, unmarked. So it's reverse ball across the 21.
Incredible pass. Incredible
what
pass.
What vision, like, you know. We know he hasn't the locker to play the pass, but the vision to see, you know, other lads be just looking at the post and reverse it. So Sean Brennan comes out of the goal, obviously, and just takes him down like a tackle. So that's black card, that's penalty. First one, right. Who's Colin Dunford's coming in along the in-line at speed. There's plenty Dublin cover for me. Now, it's a cynical tackle by Cian O'Callaghan, who, if you're listening, Cian, you were cynical all day and you eventually did get red carded. Good pal of mine, brought him in when he was a young lad. He was here for a pint before Christmas. But it was a cynical tackle. But was it a goal scoring opportunity? This is where that's where I'm saying it was just the confusion levels. Like, was there a goal clearly on there? I don't think there was. Remember, it was nearly on the end line. If you watch it again, Owen O'Donnell was next to come to tackle him. And they 2 or 3 more lads back with their keeper. So that's a black card and a penalty for me. It's not.
No, it definitely wasn't a clear goal scoring chance, without a doubt. No, is the cynical tackle, is he bringing him down? Yeah. And is that enough to give the penalty in the black card? I suppose that is the tight call. And I heard Clonard on about it last night about the line being moved in 25 metres either side and then seeing if it's a goal chance or not. It's tricky. It's a grey area for sure. But there definitely wasn't a goal scoring chance there.
No, the thing that probably didn't help him was he was off his feet on both occasions. Keane.
He was.
Keane,
which didn't help him. On both occasions there was no need to. Like, you could have kind of disguised it, even if you wanted to do him. Disguise it, going in off your feet like that, which you're.
I'm not defending Keano here now, Brian.
No. But what I'm saying is he made it easy for the ref as well, because even the second time the ref was saying that to him, that you were up off your feet and you got him hot, so it was. I can't really blame the ref either, because it was very cynical. But the goal scoring chance bit of it, couldn't say Colin Dunford for himself wouldn't have been thinking I'm going to get a goal from here. He'd be thinking I'll beat this tackle and I'll pop it across to someone and then we'll get a goal. But is that a goal scoring chance as well? That's another argument. But Keane eventually seen red. Like, let's watch the football there last night. And I thought we were going to have something like Mayo and Meath back in '96, because all I'd seen on Twitter was major incident in Armagh, 4 Tyrone and 1 Armagh sent off in an incident. So I'm here watching the Sunday game last night and I'm saying, Jesus, this is going to be some flake in here. Was there a punch thrown? And then in our game, there was a very similar scrum. You could see Danny Sutcliffe and Conor Prunty had each other by the throats. And they went to ground and everyone else was grappling. Paddy Smith was grappling with Stephen Bennett and they were all grappling. Very same as what we saw in the North. And I think there were 6 yellow cards pushed out. So I'd say fair play to Callum Canning on that, that he didn't. And then how would your man in above an Armagh? How would he pick out 4 from Tyrone and 1 from Armagh in that row? They had Banner, not defending either team now, it's ugly enough to watch, but it's good win, a good result for Waterford. They were lucky to get the draw, really. I thought Dublin had the chances nearly at the end. And big player, O'Donnell again at full back. That's showing what a full back he is. He's a majestic full back, isn't he? Jesus. But even Chris Crummey, Danny Sutcliffe, even Eamon Dillon, when he came on the point he scored. And, they're not that far away. I think they're making it into a very interesting Leinster Championship. There's a bit of a rumour out there, Les, and we can say this sort of thing because it's only a rumour. There's a bit of a rumour out there that Con wasn't in Tralee at all Saturday night, and Keane is playing hurling, and he's going hard at the hurling, obviously, by the way he tackled yesterday. Would Con be about to throw in his last with his old Tulla manager, Matty Kenny? That would make some difference to the plot now, Brian, wouldn't it? Having been on the receiving end of King Kong in the club championship, I tell you, any inter-county player that hasn't come up against him in hurling, they're going to know all about it if he does.
Likewise, and I was only managing.
Jesus, he is a serious operator hurling-wise, there's this, there's always, it's easy to say, he's as good at the hurling as he is at the football, and when they're not playing it, or he was a right lad until he gave it up or whatever, but by God, he would be some addition to him if he did come across. And you're right, like they're not far away, but they need to start getting over the line. They've been threatening for the last few years and haven't. And look, they've been unfortunate. Like last year against Kilkenny, Owen O'Donnell was a colossal loss. There's one or two. There's a couple of guys
outside of the 4 COVID cases, Huggy.
Yeah.
The chance playing him,
Yeah. But I mean. But in particular, him, he was obviously detailed Mark Teach. There's a couple of guys that are critical to them. They're a bit like, we mentioned Padraic Maher for Tipperary. Like Jesus, he went up and caught a ball there, I think at the second half on the edge of the square, and he came out with his weaker hand, if you like. He swat unbelievable. And obviously the point he got in the first half. He's just, every year we mention him as a serious hurler, and so he's a guy that need to keep fit, and they've been threatening, and I think this year is going to be a really interesting Leinster Championship. For obvious reasons.
I would be saying, like, if Con did make that move, look at you're only hearing the whispers of it on the the rumour mill, which grows legs. Like, I mean, if Mark Landers had said it on this show now, it'd have to be edited out. Definitely be wrong. Austin Gleeson's knee. Conor Lehan is not going back to inter-county hurling, lads. Just to let you know that. I'm watching him Saturday evening below scoring points against my own player. Anyway, but look, himself and Ronan Hayes as a two-man inside line now would be a fair, put full back lines everywhere in Leinster thinking, wouldn't it? You're saying you'll be fancying them to be in the 3 in Leinster for sure if that 2 could be inside, because they are structurally fairly good. Backs were all good yesterday. I know Parnell probably suits. But it's an interesting look. At maybe nothing will come of it either. You don't know. I suppose everything to do with Dublin football now is a rumour, isn't it? Because they're not going so well after being the team no one could beat for most of a decade, and that's the way these things go, So it was enjoyable. It wasn't for the purists, let's say, and it was enjoyable at the same time. And then earlier in the day, lads, the team that no one could get anywhere near of. The stadium is still up behind it. Some fella tweeted me last night. He says, I wonder what background TJ Ryan will have up now tomorrow, he said. But I don't think he's overly upset. But again here now, right, and this is the old traditionalist in me, sometimes I love these 111 to 11 point games. Like, they're just 324 to 222. Sometimes doesn't do it for me like these. Every tackle, everyone, and Wexford, by God. And at half-time, even though they had the win for the second half, I was saying, Wexford won't be fit enough, or won't be physically able to match Limerick for 70 minutes of this attritional stuff that was being played. But they did, by God, they did, and they needed the break of the goal. He probably did take a few many steps, Tej, but was he being fouled? And where's the rule there either? Should you be allowed to take too many steps if you've been fouled? And what's it? And probably the goal was the vital point, but you have to admire Wexford. Yeah,
Wexford's a difficult place to go in the league, and I was like watching that Joe Quaid program and Nicky Gale during the week. You got reminded of the memory of 1996, where it was 112 to 13 points, and this finished 111 to 11. Good win for Wexford, we have to say that. And like we said about Henry and his management team and Colin Bonner, Dalo will be delighted. Like all new management teams heading into a competition, are under pressure from the start, and this puts credit in the bank for them. It's a good win. So Limerick will be disappointed. They obviously went down to win the game. 11 points return would be something that we haven't seen in a long time for this team. And I'm not sure if I should even bring something like this up, but would the absence of that little timeout halfway through each half have been a little bit of an influence in the game, where we could have maybe changed one or two things? But look, it's the start of the league. I think the start of the league last year for Limerick wasn't exactly that exciting either, but a loss disappointing, and the lads will just maybe have to learn from it, that teams are going to set up this way. You're going to get conditions like this probably in the league. You could get conditions a little bit like this. Maybe the pitch might be a bit better in April, but that's what's coming down the track, isn't it?
Yeah. Would you be little bit worried, TJ? Obviously, Peter Casey's gone for the year, like, with the Cruciate. Gillan was whipped off at half-time. Jamie was brought on. The inside line was very bit. Is Graham going to come back again another season? Is there going to be a spring in the step? And, would you be a little bit worried inside? I think you're so strong in the middle, it won't matter that she'll score enough from outside once she straighten up on the wides count. I think 11 wides after 25 minutes. Once Hago and Will O'Donoghue and the half-back line and Tom Morrissey get the shooting boots back on, and obviously Keane is obviously coming too like shocking.
I was going to come to that. I think I think what's definitely proven here is that Keane Lynch is so influential. His play and his movement and his kind of link-up play and the way the opposition treats him is a key factor for this team. I think the inside line, like we were talking last week, as I said, about something different. Like the younger fellas, Cahill and Neil, like they're going to need a little bit of time. Adam English has come into the setup, who's got pace, he's different. David Reid's been playing well, Pat Ryan's been playing well. Like this was a difficult assignment, and Wexford were set up for the game. So would I be concerned? The answer is no. The 11-point return is definitely going to be something I'm sure the lads are talking about this week. I know they had 18 wides, but I think Wexford had something like 14. So it wasn't like there was a big, massive gap, and the conditions were difficult. But I suppose maybe there's maybe a little bit of air left out of the general thinking around the country, Dalo, and even some of the stuff you were putting to me last week to say, look, like sport is strange, and it changes a lot. Look at Cork after the weekend, how far they've gone ahead of the Passy. Look, for us, we've come back to the pack of small. Yeah. And the weekend coming, we could be talking about something completely different. We've Galway coming this week. Wexford travel up to Ennis, and as you said there, like Lohan
has to be a response.
Has to be a response. Galway will have a little pep in their step after scoring 4 goals. Nice challenge for them. And John Kiley and Paul Kinnerk will be looking this week and say, lads, look, okay, we've lost the game. We got to learn from whatever the way the opposition set up. Now we got Galway. Let's get back on the bus here and let's get 2 points in our home game this weekend. So,
really looking forward to that one Saturday night. I have to say, I'm on duty in the gate ground, so you can't wait for it now because we have a huge local crowd. And the Galway crowd, it's an easy spin from down the road as well. And great start, Brian, for Darregan. That's All Ireland champions coming to town. Your first match, because the Walsh Cup Dublin blew them away a bit in the final. But look, and I thought watching the Sunday game last night, Fitzy was definitely looking. He'd some young fella up in RT, a whiz kid on the computer. He'd be a researcher like with you, and I'd say he'd fairly looking for clips of the sweeper in the first half. During this,
he was struggling to find it. Yeah, like look, Wexford Park is wide open at one end. You got a big wind coming in over the top. It's a bit like Salt Hill, and you're going down to Wexford Park, whether it's February or whether it's June. It's one of those pitches. The crowd is nearly in on top of you, and you see the picture at half time, all the young lads in on the pitch pucking around. And Wexford they love that, and a nice low scoring game, making an absolute dogfight. Matty Hanlon and these guys just up for the fight, and it's massive, massive. Like I know you were talking, there's been a bit made around the backroom team at Wexford as well, and Darragh, he's building a bit of momentum like that. That's just going to do him the world of good in terms of the players really buying into what he's trying to do. There's a freshness there, obviously, with him coming in, but you need a couple of results like that as well for the players just to reinforce what he's saying and buy into it. And like no better result to get than beating the All Ireland champions at home in your first game. I mean, geez, that'll give Wexford some energy now heading to Clare, and it's look, fair play to him. And look. Yeah, I mean, Paul Kinnerk didn't look too disappointed. Look, obviously they will be disappointed with certain aspects of the game, but we won't just press the panic button just yet on the Limerick. They're not in themselves in Dublin. I think they'll still have a say in their respective codes this year. We're not going to be too worried about them just yet.
Yeah, when you've either those two teams beaten, I'd say this year you'll be in a good place. Whoever would beat them championship time, and we know that. So it was a great weekend. I really enjoyed it. Great racing. I think Darragh's rugby team won, someone said. And there's good racing again this week. Mark, you going to UK later this week? You've won for the listeners?
No, I'm not going to the UK, not this weekend, no, or this week. But we might have something all right for Thursday. And sure. I'm trying to think of those fellas that sing the song. Who sings the song Wonderwall?
Oh,
you're my Wonderwall.
Okay.
Oasis.
He's out again on Thursday.
Wonderwall.
Richard Spencer. We were privy, in fairness to Marco, credit where credit is due. Myself and Dale, we got the little message on Saturday where Richard had a horse going in the last race and he duly obliged.
Boy, the kid.
Yeah. In fairness to Marco, credit where credit is due.
Yeah. Walking up to Parky Keeve and she's beside me and she's wondering why I was saying, go on! Oh, nothing. Lads, it's the first week of the fantasy hurling as well. Hoagie, no team in this year, Hoagie.
I'm saving myself for championship.
Okay, Hoagie.
To be honest, I had such a dismal run last year. I need to spend some time and get it right this time.
Yeah, you
Good
have
and I was hoping, Hoagie, you'd be in the show because I was guaranteed you'd be in the bottom.
This is because he made no transfers last year, but it's a joint top with Tipperary there. Larry always up there. Larry spends a lot of times in the office as a journalist, lads. You have to fill the amount of words you have to fill for your various columns, and obviously his columns are top class. He's going through a bad patch with Arsenal and everything else. Like, but look at he is good at this fantasy hurling. We give him that. Shane McGrath pulling out all the stops. I'm on the podium. That's all I'll say. I'm on the podium. Bronze medal. Marco in fourth. Marco, I'm liking it. Well done to Pam one and everyone else that picked it for you. Ken Hogan coming next with last year's championship champion. TJ, there'll have to be a meeting called in your house, TJ.
Yeah, a little bit like Limerick, you'd have to say disappointing start with 2-2-5. I'm definitely on this occasion going to blame one of my selectors, Cormac, because he was definitely responsible for one of those 2 mad picks that didn't score at all for me. We went with Jar Brown in the middle of the field. That was his call. So as the manager, I'm definitely apportioning blame on this occasion. We will regroup a little bit like Limerick.
Dinner.
We will regroup. We will be ready for the weekend. And we, like Limerick hurlers, we will try and see if we can get back up the pecking order this weekend.
Wouldn't doubt you. Would someone be Larry, if you have a number there for Johnny McGrath, have his number down in his 4.5 million mansion on the Blackrock Road.
Did he pick football or something? What did he do?
No, he picked Nicky Quaid as his captain straight away. Double points for the goalie. Look at that. Oh, Johnny, man, like, come on. Johnny, I always cut out with you on the field, like, but I didn't think you did it yourself here, like.
I tell you, there's one obvious thing there now. There's a lot of you going to be in trouble if Jason Ford gets injured. I see 5 of you have him as captain.
But you can change your captain, Mark.
Did Shawnee pick Cody as well?
He picked Shawnee.
Cody, yeah. He's not even playing.
He's not missing much of your weekend.
It's a nice team.
Come on, man, Shawnee. Yeah.
McInerney, but that's Garrod McInerney. He was his main scorer yesterday, and he ended up the centre back and got a goal, didn't he? Yeah, stop. But anyway, that's the story. Lots will change. Our listeners' league, some start for Trevor Hassett. Drummond Inch, I presume he's one of the Hassets. His brother probably involved with the Clare team at the moment as coach. 291 and Anthony Redmond from Nevena in Wexford, 286. And John O'Connor from Cashel-Gar, as they call it up there, 278. And Larry's actually featuring on that as well, so that'll tell you. And Shane would be featuring as well. So, huge thank to Butlers, Handcraft Hurleys, as always, being behind us and giving us great old support, lovely prizes for our listeners' league. So, that's it for today, lads. Great games to look forward to. We won't go previewing. TJ?
Dalo, we touch on there's new formats there for the minor and under 20 championship coming down the track as well. We'll touch on that, whereas groups 3 and you have 2 games.
Yes.
What's in store in April and stuff. We'll touch on that maybe over the next week or 2. I was talking to a friend of Mike Reardon's there recently, Toaster. He was telling me stories about your days in charge of the Limerick Minors and about some of the mistakes you made, and he told me to let you know. I will come back to that.
Who's the Toaster?
Another week. He's a good character, good friend of our Limerick secretary, Mike Reardon, and he was telling me some stories, and they are interesting.
I have to text Mulqueen now straight away. I say, John Mulqueen, who's the Toaster?
Yeah, you'll know. We'll come to that another day.
The Clareman was never going to get any bit of credit anyway, Hoagie, thanks a million.
No worries. Look, I'm just wish Ballyhale the best of luck, obviously, in the All-Ireland club. This weekend.
How are you calling it, Hoagie? We have to talk about that one. The league is the league. This is the All-Ireland club final. What do you think? I'll go with Shamrocks.
There's not going to be, they know each other very well. It's funny, even back when I was playing, obviously Henry going to college here and knows Fergal Hartley and all the lads down there, but they're only whatever it is, 30-40 miles apart, and they play each other quite regularly or in challenge matches. But very impressive with Ballygunner. You spoke about them last week or the week before in the podcast. So, but look, I'll go with the Shamrocks. I've been on the receiving end of a couple of beatings with them often enough. So, and seeing what they've done, I think when they get to Croke Park in the final now and having had a relatively having underperformed, let's say, in the semi-final, and maybe weren't allowed hurl by Thomas's to their credit, I think they'll do the job.
Great stuff. Who do you think, TJ?
She's very 50. It's a bit like the deaf dog, Dalo, isn't it? Here, there's a case being made from both teams. I was fierce impressed watching Ballygunner in the Munster final with Marco. I thought that this is their year. I think Croke Park would suit them. Look, how could you ever write off the forward line that Ballyhale have? But I'm going to tip my hat on Ballygunner to win a tight final and it to have an influence on Waterford hurling going forward?
Marco?
Good call, yeah. Yeah, I tell you, I didn't, because we didn't get the opportunity to speak about, you may have covered in the last pod about Thomas's and Ballyhale, because there was no pod the following Monday after that game, but I was enthralled by that game, and I was also enthralled by TJ Reid. I never saw Mr. Lang. He's on since years, but what TJ Reid did, that is just it was just magical what TJ Reid did. I thought in the overall game, I thought that Thomas's were by far the better team, 5 or 6 points a better team. I thought that Ballyhale looked stuck in fourth gear, in my opinion. And I think Ballygunner have an extra step to their step. The biggest question for Ballygunner is, can they perform on the biggest day ever? And if they'll perform, I think they'll win. And I think they'll win with a bit to spare now, to be honest with it. They look extremely sharp, fitness-wise. And I hate speaking against Ballyhale because I love them. And Jocks are involved with them as well, in charge of them. James O'Connor from Lismore is just a brilliant, brilliant coach. And but I think if Ballygunner turn up, I think they'll take an awful lot of beat.
Okay. So even we were talking about it last week, Marco. I've been saying even the customers in the pub here, you can't get a consensus as to who'll win this match. Like I would slightly go for Ballygunner as well, but I'd be saying even here, you'd nearly want to be passing Carlo on the motorway with Tommy Moore in the bus before you'd be sure you're this crowd beaten. Yeah. I'd tell you one thing, I'd give him a very, I don't think you might be right. They might pull away and beat him 5 or 6 points, but I wouldn't say that. I just somehow think it might be Ballygunner's year, but I think Finlay could turn up and have a major game. TJ could have the game. He could roll, and how amazing was he? But even from play now, he could roll back the ears and stick 2 or 3 balls in the back of the net. Like, they're capable of anything, like, you know. So, yeah, I'd give Ballygunner a slight nod.
Yeah, I just don't know how.
I gotta go, Dalo. I'll see
okay,
you next
TJ.
week. You can finish it out.
See you, TJ.
Down well, TJ.
I just don't know how fit TJ Reid is, Anthony. In one of the matches, he definitely jarred his knee badly, and I think he's carrying a groin injury as well. So, yeah. But he was just brilliant against St. Thomas's, but more in the full forward line role. When they came under pressure, the lads just lumped the ball long into him, and he dragged him back.
Did a great job, but of course, still he came up with he got fouled and sticks at him. I mean, what a man! Like look, for me, one of the greatest ever is Reid. Like, you have to say, jeez, who in the country would you want hitting that shot for you at that stage? Look, yeah, really look forward to that Saturday. What a day's hurling Saturday as well, with that and with Limerick, Galway, and then the rest of the game Sunday. So we've actually had a listener, lads, who has offered us 2 very good tickets for the club finals next Saturday. So it's kind of a late call thing, and doesn't want to get involved in giving out the name, but we'll do it. So I think later on, when Larry puts up the notification that the show is online, if you just send any kind of a message, put your name, just any kind of a message onto the end of that, we'll put you in the draw, and Larry will do that very openly in the examiner offices, which are now wide open again, and he'll have Mikey Minahan and a few more there as witnesses. So we'll have 2 tickets for somebody for Saturday in Croke Park, which is obviously a fabulous, fabulous day. So we leave it at that. We thank Hoagie for joining us. Marco, welcome back to Erin's Green Isle, Marco. It's nice to have you back again. The 10 is wearing off very quickly, sir.
I have to go for a top-up again soon.
I go with you this time. We come back in a box. If I go with you, we come back in a box. Right, lads. Thanks a million.
Good work, Dave.
Cheers, Dalo.
It's only the Allianz Leagues. It's only February. Only a warm-up. Only a relegation. only a bit of fun. It's only a debut. Only hundreds of competitive matches and thousands of players giving it their all. Only an unstoppable passion for GA across the whole nation. It's only 30 years of Allianz supporting the leagues, and we're not done yet. Only the leagues, only the Allianz leagues.
A grain of rice, a grain of rice is going to tip the scale. Just remember that, lad. There's a small bit of a needle there.
Come on, Maher, you've got to get Andy Moran into the game.
Our mission was to show that we're no longer the whipping boys of Munster.